Hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have 17 spring Dollar Tree DIYs and finds for you. My theme today is spring flowers and just a general spring, really nothing Easter or anything like that. So let's get started with the new spring DIYs. For this DIY, I wanted to make a spring fence sign complete with flowers using some of these little fence signs from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to combine two of these together with one of the long board signs, kind of the smaller version of that. So first I just need to remove the hangers here from the back. I do want this to be a hanging sign, but I don't need two sets of hangers because I'm going to have these little side by side to make a longer fence. So I am just taking those off on the back, using the Cricut weeder to get those little staples out there from the Dollar Tree and cleaning this up. I just want to do a white picket fence with this, and I want it to go all the way across like the background of the spring sign. So that looks pretty good. I've got those cleaned up. I do want them to be spaced out as well. So I'm going to have a little gap between them, and then I'm also going to put this little board side underneath of it like that so I can add some more things to the bottom. To space it out, I'm just going to use a popsicle stick. It's about the same width as the board that connects the little palette board sign together. And so I'm just going to use scissors to cut out a couple little pieces of that. To just use hot glue here on the back, and we can glue these together, making a longer fence sign. I want to use some of those wooden flowers from the Dollar Tree to do a really fun flower display, but I don't want to cover up the entire fence. That is why I'm adding the board side underneath of it. And there is room here under the brace where I can just glue this thinner sign on. I don't care that it has holes in it. That's all going to be covered up with my little faux garden. I want this fence just to look like a classic white picket fence. So just using a brush and some white acrylic paint, we are going to paint this. I'm not going to paint the sign below. I'm going to have it be like grassy and green. And so I guess you could paint it green, but I really couldn't see any of the original board through it. So I think it's good as is. As for the top, I did do a second coat of white just to make it really pop. And then I am going to make a new hanger here in the back, just taking some twine, knotting it and using my staple gun. It's plenty thick here with the doubled up board here on the back of the sign. And I just do the same thing here on the other side, just making a new hanger for this project. I do want it to be a hanging little fence sign. These are the flowers that I'm going to use for the front of it. There are different kinds of these, as you can see, and I'm going to use different kinds, but for what I'm actually doing with it, I don't know if it really matters if you have different ones or not. I thought it would be fun to leave like the stem and the leaves on here and kind of replace the flower with a faux flower from the Dollar Tree. So for the leaves, I want them to be green. I'm just using acrylic leaf green paint, and I just went over them with one coat, and I do want them to have a little bit of lines and stemming and texture, so I just go over it with a paint pen. It's a little bright. I thought that the leafy green would mute it down a little bit. I do have to add some more details to that later. The first flower we're going to use is this one. It's pink with a yellow center. I wanted to do like a pink and yellow, maybe a little bit of a white theme for the flowers on this display, so I thought this would be perfect for the center. And then I can do one of the same thing on each side. If you had 3 different ones, that would be great. I just really think the colors need to kind of coordinate. Now, in case you can see any of the flower behind it, I just went ahead and painted all of them pink. You're really not going to be able to see anything, probably except for some of the very edges, but I wanted to make sure that you couldn't see just the raw wood back there. And then I just take the back off of the flower, cutting the stem off. I want this to be as flat as possible when I glue this to the wooden flower. And the stem and the flower are not connected at this point, but using hot glue, I just went ahead and attached it all together. Now I really like this. I really like the colors. The only problem is I thought the flower was a little too big. It kind of overpowered the stem and the leaves. You couldn't really see them. So I'm just going to cut them down shorter. the petals, it was really easy to do. I just folded them in half and cut a curved pattern to give me that great shape that they had before. And this way, it's just going to make it a little bit smaller. The other flowers that I chose for the other two were the right scale. So this was the only one that I had to do this to, but I think it really made a difference to kind of scale that down a little bit. These are the flowers that I want to use for each side. These are like pink and yellow and kind of ivory color. I'm going to choose two of them that are about the same size, and just like before, I'm going to peel the back off of them. I don't normally do that because it does make the flower fall apart, but I needed these to be super flat. So I attach it with hot glue here, trying to make sure the center is kind of bunched up on these, and some extra hot glue to help keep the flower together. I think that one looks pretty good. I like the fact that the colors are the same, but the flowers look completely different for a little variety for this spring sign. And then I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side, take it apart, cut the stem off, and attach it with hot glue. I did think about using some of the leaves from the plants from the Dollar Tree to replace that part too, but that would really cover up everything that was on these little wooden flowers, and I don't want to do that. I just like that addition of the flowers, I think. So I'm just going to use hot glue and attach our center flower right here in the middle, gluing it to the fence, not really to that bottom sign part. And then do the left flower here. I'm going to line them up pretty even all the way across, and that way the fence can peek out above them and I still have room to decorate underneath. For the grass, I'm just using some reindeer moss from the Dollar Tree. You could also use that faux Easter grass they have right now at Dollar Tree Plus. That would be really cute too. And I kind of went back and forth about which one I should use. I'm not sure. I like it like this, but I think it would look really good with the grass as well. So just using one bunch at a time, I'm trying to make sure that it's not super thick. I don't want to waste any of the moss. I just want a thin coat all over to make it look like it's greenery. Not necessarily just moss, but just green and filling it up like it is in a garden. And I go around all of the flowers just like that. Now I want to make sure you don't see this bare sign here at the bottom. So I did use some smaller pieces and go in and make sure everything's covered there as well. I think it's looking really cute so far. I'm going to give it a quick trim. And I want to add a little bit more spring to the sign. I know it's already got a lot, but I think we can add some more. The first thing I noticed, I didn't really like the green color of paint pen that I used for the lines. So I'm just using a little bit more of that leaf green paint, and acrylic and a baby wipe to kind of wipe off the excess to see if I could get a little bit of it to come through. But again, keeping that leafy texture and less of the Christmas green color. I was only so successful with that. I do have to add some more details. And then I wanted to add some little spring bugs to our garden. I have some of the red ladybugs, the wooden ladybugs from Dollar Tree, and I added one there to the fence. And I think I'll add another one maybe over here on a leaf. I want to add like ladybugs and bees and different things that you would see in spring. So this is the bee I'm going to use. It's one of the wired bees off of this little chime that I got at the Dollar Tree. It's great because it has the wire attached to it to make it look like the bee is flying. I just use a pair of pliers and take that off the little wind chime. It's a super cute little bee. And I can have that like maybe come out of the fence just like that. I wrap the wire around the back and just using my staple gun to attach it. It's the easiest way. And that looks pretty good. And you can kind of mold it the way that you want it, have it flying out there like it's getting ready to land on a flower. Then for the base, I thought I would add a few more flowers, but this time some smaller flowers. So I picked up these little wildflowers from the Dollar Tree in pink and white, and they come apart pretty easily. You can just pull the flower off, and I'm just going to hot glue that and push it down into the reindeer moss. I noticed the pink stem was a little bit longer, so I did trim them a little bit before I glued them to make sure I could get them nice and close. And then these flowers are like white with a little yellow center, so I thought some of those would be really cute as well. And we're gonna just glue some of those down into the moss as well. Now for the details on the green leaves. I already have everything put together, but I just used a green Sharpie and a little bit more lines here. It's a more neutral color, and I think this turned out pretty good. I did have this little ladybug in the way already. I just kind of took it off and put it back on. It has some double-sided tape on there. And then to make it not completely blend in to the green reindeer moss, I decided to go around the edges with my fine-tipped white paint pen and just do a very rugged, very tiny border just to help that pop the green against the green like that. I don't want it to all blend in. I want it to look like there's stems and leaves on each one of these flowers. Now I decided to move a few things around. I didn't really like the ladybug up on the fence, so I'm going to move it down here into the moss. And I thought I might have had too many flowers, so I'm just going to remove another flower on that side. And then I thought it'd be fun to have a little grass element too. This is from some of the greenery that we were using there, and it had a little sprig of onion grass on there. So I just cut off a couple, like 3 or 4 inches of it, and hot glue that down into the moss. For the second one, I'm gonna have to kind of thin these a little bit. I just trimmed their edges, making them skinnier, so they'll be more similar to the grass on the other side because they get wider as they go down on these. And then again, cut off about the same amount of this grass. And I'm gonna glue this down to the moss on this side. I thought it'd be fun to have at least a little bit of grass peeking out of the garden. And just another little fun detail, I think that this sign really screams spring. It's so bright and colorful. It's not super large. You could fit this just about anywhere. And look how pretty that looks. I think that using the faux flowers from the Dollar Tree is it's going to give me a way better look than anything I could have painted on those wood flowers. But I think it's really cute, and I love all the little fun touches like the ladybugs and the bee. Super fun, and I had so much fun putting this together. I hope you enjoy the spring DIY. For this spring DIY, I want to make a mini greenhouse or terrarium. I'm going to use some of the 4x6 acrylic sheets from the Dollar Tree, 2 of the wood-shaped photo frames from the Dollar Tree for the structure of the little greenhouse, 2 wood 5x7 frames, 1 for each side. You're going to want them to be the same. And then also some wood dowels from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to need 1 of those. I thought I was going to use another frame like this for the top of the greenhouse. I end up not using that one. And some of these bamboo sticks, I get those on Amazon. I have those linked in my shop. They come in handy for crafting because there's something that they don't really have at Dollar Tree. My plan is to have the 5x7 sign on its side like that, with the house-shaped shine being the front and the back. And then I can use the acrylic boards, piecing them together for the top. It's not going to be the right size, but I think I can have 2 windows on each side of the top of the little mini greenhouse. So let's get started with the 2 5x7 frames. As you can tell, everything's pretty much the same finish of wood. And if you wanted to leave these as wood, it's going to save you a lot of time. I really wanted mine to be white. And so I did have a lot of painting in this project, and it took me a little bit longer than I thought it would to complete this project. I think like maybe 2.5 hours. So it was not an easy project by any means, but I absolutely love how it turned out. Now for the frames, I'm just going to go ahead and pop the glass out so that I can paint everything. And I don't really need the back of these anymore or any of the papers that were in them, but I do need to save the glass. The great thing about these house-shaped frames from the Dollar Tree is that they have the house-shaped glass, which makes it perfect for a greenhouse. Now it's time just to remove all of the staples. I like to do that with just a pair of pliers. You want to kind of pull them straight out so they don't crack any of your wood. But these are all wood frames and they are pretty sturdy. So I just remove all of those. And I thought it would be easier to paint them now without the glass in them, so I don't have to tape off any of the glass. Otherwise, I like to paint later after I've glued everything together, but I thought it would be just easier to paint them now. So this wood is a little bit sealed on these frames, but you can still paint them. It is going to take a couple of coats. I do want that distressed look with a little bit of the wood coming through though, so I don't want full coverage. but it did still take a couple of coats just to even get that because it doesn't want to stick too well to it. So I just went over with one coat of white, making sure to get the edges as well. And then you can see about how much coverage that gave me. I'm going to go over here with a second coat, trying to make the corners look right with the transition from like side to side, up to down here. And I wanted this to look like a little mini greenhouse, something that you could have in your house. You could actually use this as a greenhouse. I'm going to use mine for spring decor, but I love the fact that it's going to be white and beautiful, and I can really change it out for any season. Now, I do need to paint the front and the back of all of the photo frames because you're going to be able to see through it. We're going to have the glass in there, but you're going to be able to actually see through the little mini greenhouse or terrarium. So I am going to have to paint everything. So I got the 5x7s painted on the front, and now I'm going to do the same thing here with the house frames. They have a little bit of a thinner frame. I wish I had some Dollar Tree signs that had maybe a thinner frame. These are not too thick, the 5x7, so I think we can make it work. I was trying to find two for the front and two for the sides, and you definitely have to make sure they're the same size because the Dollar Tree frames can really vary. And I just went over everything here with a second coat on the houses as well. And then flip these over and paint the other side. I'm going to have the glass glued back in there, but again, it's just going to be easier to paint all of this without the glass in there. And so I do the same thing here on the back. Now this is going to be on the inside, so it definitely doesn't have to be perfect, but I do want it to be mostly white, and I'm just using white acrylic paint for this. I wasn't sure what I was going to do for the roof. I knew that the 4x6 acrylic, the 4-inch was good for the height, but the 6-inch was going to be too wide. So I'm going to try to cut those down. I've never cut the acrylic sheets from the Dollar Tree, but it was actually pretty easy to do. So now that I have all 4 frames painted, I do go over the inside with the second coat as well, just because so much of that wood was showing through. This is why the painting was labor intensive on this project, because you had to kind of paint everything. The reason I don't like to paint things in advance is because when you go to glue them together, the paint can really interfere. And so I end up sanding some of that paint off where I'm going to glue it just to try to make it a little bit more stable. Now it's time to add the glass back in these. I removed the staples. I'm just going to use hot glue to attach them. I thought it would be the perfect time to clean these first with some glass cleaner. And so I do that here on the side, and then I add hot glue all the way around the inside of the frame. I'm going to glue them from underneath the glass and also glue them from on top to try to make this stronger. I want to make sure that the glass does not fall out. And I just go ahead and pop that in there, cleaning the other side of the glass as I go. And I'm going to do the same thing here with the other one. I was so happy to find the house-shaped frames from the Dollar Tree because it really made the structure of these perfect for a little mini greenhouse. I love it. Now I'm going to go around here once I have them all in there and dried with some more hot glue, gluing it from the inside. Trying not to use so much that you can see it through the glass from the front, but enough to make that secure. And I'm going to do the same thing here for the 5x7 frame. So I just go ahead and clean the glass first, and then I'm going to hot glue them into the frames. So this is going to have real glass on the front, all of the sides of the little greenhouse, but it's going to have the acrylic on the top, which you can't really tell the difference between the glass and the acrylic when you're just looking at it. Again, I hot glue from the top and the bottom to make them super strong. I'm using hot glue on everything on this project. I don't have any hinges or any kind of fancy construction, just Gorilla Glue, hot glue, but I will show you my tricks to try to make it a little bit stronger. The first thing I do is just sand off the inside of this frame where it's going to come into contact with the 5x7 frame on the side, just to make the glue adhere a little bit better. This is one reason why I don't really like painting in advance. I probably shouldn't have painted that part, but I think that will work. I'm going to do the same thing here on the sides of the 5x7 frame, trying to get most of the paint off so that I can attach it. Now you could use wood glue for this. I was wanting to get this project done, so I definitely used hot glue on mine, but I do have a few tricks that I use to make it a little bit stronger. I start just by laying it down, using the hot glue to attach the side, lining up the bottom, and then I am gonna run another bead of hot glue here on the inside. I can do that on this side where it's nice and open, but it's gonna be a little bit harder to do that when I get the rest of it on here. So I do the same thing here on the other side, just using hot glue to attach it, trying to make sure that it stays fairly square here. You can kind of tell by opening it, or you can also use a little square from the Dollar Tree. I do let that set up for a few minutes to try to make it stronger. And then I'm going to go ahead and put hot glue on both sides. I'm going to have to attach this one all together at once. And then I just lay it on here. So the front of all of my frames are facing out for the houses and the ones on the side here. So I let that set up a little bit, but it's still not super strong. So I'm going to make little braces here with some of this bamboo wood. This is just a little flat bamboo wood, craft wood. You get a ton of these on Amazon. They're really inexpensive. I bought a package years ago and I'm still using them. I've used them for so many crafts. I really love them. You could also use like a popsicle stick for this. Or you could do like a dowel along the inside, but you're going to want something to kind of reinforce this. So I'm going to be very gentle with it right now until I get it braced a little bit better. I just run a bead of hot glue and I'm going right here on the seam between the two frames, gluing that to the front. Since this is like a flat wood, it gives it like a decorative trim touch. It doesn't really take away. Of course, it's a natural wood right now. I am going to paint that so it'll blend in more with the white. But I do the same thing here on all four corners. And you can't see the side frames from the front and the back. You just see that great house shape like that. Makes it a little bit longer like that. Now that I have those all on there, it's getting to be a little bit stronger. I'm not going to have a bottom or anything on this. I just want it to be like a little greenhouse that I can put over plants. I am just going to paint them white, trying to make sure to go around the edges as well to really kind of seal that up. Now for the top of the structure, I knew I wanted to use a dowel to go straight across, but I didn't know if I needed to cut up that frame for the top structure. I couldn't really find anything to fit up here, so I'm going to have to really DIY my own. I go ahead and measure the frame and I see how wide I really want this to be if I were to use two of these side by side. And I'm going to go ahead and try to cut these down. I end up using that flat bamboo wood that I got on Amazon for the trim and not needing that extra frame. So I wasn't sure how well I could cut these, but I thought I would give it a try. So just using a metal ruler, I am going to try to start the cut here with just a razor blade. I try to make sure it's square and to go straight across. This does have the wrapper on it at this point. It might be easier to cut it without the wrapper on there, but I thought at first it was handy because I could write on it to put my line on there. And I did 2 or 3 runs of the razor blade, and then I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing here on the other side. I did remove the protective wrap here on the back, and I went over it a couple of times with my razor blade on that side as well. And I'm just going to go ahead and remove all of this. It's almost going to be a square-like piece. I was wondering if I could just pop it like that. I did go over it one more time with my razor blade, but I decided it really needed the edge to like wood or something like that. So I end up holding my piece on a piece of wood, pushing down, and it snapped with a pretty clean cut. I was impressed. So I'm going to have to do the same thing here for the other 3. I'm going to try to make them all the same size, and we can have 4 little windows on the top of the greenhouse. So I would do 2 or 3 cuts on each side, trying to make sure to get them in the same spot. And then again, just using the wood to pop that. And you know what? These were actually pretty easy to cut. I didn't really want to get my saw involved because I don't have like a plastic cutting blade on there. I didn't want to mess anything up on the acrylic or my saw. So I think this was a good way to cut them. Again, 4 little windows, just because I couldn't find any frames that would be perfect. I could have done some 5x7 frames up there like I used on the sides, but they would have overhung the edges and giving you like a little roof, which I didn't really want a roof because this is not going to be a house. I want this to look like a greenhouse. So that is all 4 of our little acrylic windows ready to go. But at this point, I don't really have any structure up here. All I have is the top of the wall and the roof line on each side. So I'm going to have to build something out here. I thought this dowel would be perfect to provide some structure here for the top. So I'm just going to cut down one of these large dowels from the Dollar Tree, just using my miter scissors. And that's going to provide a great structure here. It's almost like a toolbox handle here at the top. And connect the roof on one side of the greenhouse to the other. I just attach it with hot glue, right like that. It's going to be like a little bit more of an inside structure. I'm going to use a little bit of the trim to trim that out of the end, so you probably won't be able to see that. And then I need a piece to go in between my 2 windows and for it to have some structure to lay on. So I'm going to cut some of that bamboo down, one for each side right here in the middle. And I'm just cutting those sideways with my miter scissors. If you cut a flat item with those, it's not going to work. You have to actually cut like a 3D object with them. I attached this piece with some hot glue. I probably should have measured this because I get mine a little off-centered. I was able to make it work, but I'm not sure why I didn't decide to measure this. I thought I was in the center. I'm a little bit off, but I kind of like the imperfect nature of it. I hot glue it to the top of the wall and to that wooden dowel on top. And now, of course, I need everything to be white to kind of blend in with the rest of our little greenhouse, our little mini greenhouse. I'm calling mine a mini greenhouse. I think it could also be called a terrarium. Do terrariums always have bottoms on them, though? I'm not sure. And I also want to paint the wood dowel. So I just use a little brush and make sure that I get in here and do the undersides of them as well, so you won't see any of that natural wood through. And again, if you were to leave yours natural wood, you really could. You're going to save a lot of time on painting, but I just think white when I think of this, so that is why I wanted everything to be white. I put hot glue along 3 edges and just put my little acrylic piece in here. I'm laying it on top of the wood pieces that I have. I'm not really gluing it to the dowel on the top, just gluing it to the side, the bottom, and up here on the other side, and laying these side by side to fill that in. I will go back with some more of that flat bamboo to trim that out. And I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side. I'm glad I chose to use the acrylic for the top because I was able to get this custom fit for the greenhouse, and it really looks just what I envisioned. Trying to use enough hot glue to keep it in place, but I don't want a lot to actually be visible here in the final project. And this is that flat bamboo trim again. I'm going to do a piece along the top of the wall and 2 pieces here like this for the top to cover that dowel area and cover the seam. And then I'll have to use one there on the other side for the roof as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do the side pieces here. I'm going to cut that down to fit inside the frame. Again, cutting that sideways, the easiest way I found to cut those. I'm going to do one here for the roof line. And I'm going to make it go all the way to the end, give me a clean look. Those pieces are going to be a little bit longer than these side pieces. I'm trying to keep them in order so I know what's what here. So I can go ahead and put these all together. I did think it would be easier to go ahead and paint these now. So I'm going to go over these with some white acrylic. And I'm going to have to paint both sides of them again because you're going to be able to see through the little mini greenhouse. So I flip those over, do a coat of white here on the back. These definitely don't need to be perfect, and I think one coat is fine. This accepts the wood pretty well. It doesn't have a lot of sealing on it. And now it's time to trim this out. I'm glad that I took these extra steps here to make it look better on the top. It looks so good. I'm so happy with this project. I've always wanted to make one like this, but I've never really thought about how I could put it together, especially with supplies from the Dollar Tree. except for the little bamboo. Everything else was from the Dollar Tree, and I think it's just so cute. For the top, I go all the way from roof to roof. That's going to reinforce it a little bit. Cover that little window hole there in between the acrylic. Again, I didn't really attach the acrylic to the top. And then I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side. These two come together like at a 90-degree angle. They don't necessarily sit flush, but I think it does a good job of covering the top of it. And now I also need to trim out where the two different acrylic windows come together. So again, using that flat bamboo trim, it's perfect for this. I can make a little like windowsill there to frame that out. I cut a piece down for each side, just like that. And of course, I do need to paint those white as well. I had to try to get everything in there first, so I didn't have these pieces cut down yet because I wasn't sure how long they were going to need to be. So again, just one coat of white paint. And as you can see, the painting is definitely what took so long on this project, but I'm glad I chose white. I think it's really pretty. Just going to attach this with hot glue, and this is going to be the final touch for the greenhouse. It gives it that finished look, one on this side and one on the other. Now I'm also going to show you how I DIY some faux plants to go inside. I'm going to use these little terracotta pots that I got from the Dollar Tree. This is the 2-pack. They're a little bit larger than the 3-pack that they have. And I love the fact that they're terracotta. I think that really goes with the spring garden vibes of this. I'm just going to cut a little piece of foam to go down in each pot. I'm going to use some pink flowers from the Dollar Tree and some eucalyptus. But first I wanted to cover the foam up, and I'm going to do that with some of their brown floral moss. You could also use reindeer moss for this part. You're just going to want something to cover up the foam in case you can see in there. And if you're really ambitious, a real plant would definitely work in this. You could use this as a real little greenhouse. These are the flowers I chose. I think they're so pretty. I'm going to use the entire bunch to make a nice full pink flower pot that can go inside. I want to do 2 or 3 little pots inside here. I want it to be as full as possible, and I'm trying purposely to make these rather tall so you'll be able to see these through the roof of the greenhouse as well. And then for the eucalyptus, I had maybe 1.5 packages of these. I'm going to put these together for a little greenery. I didn't want it all to be flowers, and I think these are really pretty. So I'm just cutting them with my wire cutter and pushing them down into the floral foam. And these are just the right size. I'm going to go ahead and fit them in there. As you can see, it fills up the entire little mini greenhouse. But you just sit it right on top of them. And again, you could do that with some real plants as well. I'm going to display it with this cute little flower mister that I got at the Dollar Tree in pink. I'm going to fill this with some water. I think this will really add to the greenhouse vibe. And I'm also going to show you how I display it with some other plants. I think it's really fun. But again, here is our little DIY greenhouse. I absolutely love how it turned out. And let me give you a little bit of a closer look of the greenhouse using photo frames from the Dollar Tree and acrylic for the top. As you can see, I added a little tiny flower there in front for a little variety in the pot size. That is for $1 I got at the Target dollar spot, but I thought that looked really cool. And you can see a little bit here from the side how this one turned out. And this is how cute it looks with the little mister and some Target florals around. I'm actually using one of these signs I got on clearance at Target dollar spot, but Dollar Tree has the same exact sign, same size and everything. And what I want to do is do like a little sola wood rose ombre like wall hanging. So I'm going to cut down a piece of cardstock. This is just a regular sheet of the paper, and that sign and the Dollar Tree sign are just a little bit smaller. And what I want to do is take these little wood curl roses from the Dollar Tree. You get 4 in a package. And I want to do like a whole wall of them on that sign. But I also want to spray paint them ombre. And so I don't want the overspray to go on the sign. So I'm going to do it on cardstock first. That way the overspray will just go on the cardstock instead. So I had to kind of see how many was going to fit on here. I did 5 across. And then I thought I could do a 7 down. I ended up only being able to do a 6 down. So I only used a total of 8 packages. I had 10 just in case because I wasn't sure how many I was going to need. And I'm just kind of laying them out to get them ready. And then what I'm going to do is attach these to the cardstock and paint them on that with like the ombre effect. I've never painted these before, but they turned out really cool, so I'll probably do that again. I love these little wood flowers from Dollar Tree. They're so pretty. And the great thing about a lot of these DIYs today is since I'm doing pinks, you could do it for Valentine's Day, but all of them are spring DIYs, so you can leave them up all spring. So that works great. Now, the most challenging part, as you can see, is getting the hot glue to dry to make sure these little flowers are standing straight up and not tipping over. I was trying to do like maybe a couple at a time to make it go a little bit faster. But I just keep gluing down. And, you can like put things next to them to kind of hold it up, but I was just trying to hold it. I don't want like a permanent bond. I just wanted enough of a bond to make these little guys stand up so that I could paint them first. And I'm glad that I did like this cardstock or paper method because it did get lots of overspray on the back, and that would have just not looked as good on the final product. So a little bit of prep, getting you ready for this one for sure. So I'm already on row 5. As you can see, there's no way I'm going to be able to fit 2 more rows in there. So a total of 8 packages is plenty for that size sign. And that sign from the Dollar Tree, they have a couple different finishes of wood of that one, but I actually had the one from the dollar spot, so I'm going to use that one today. So we have them all. They're all standing up, except for this one. Trying to get the glue to dry just enough. I don't want like a permanent bond or anything like that. I just want to be able to paint them. So I'm going to go ahead now that I've got them all attached to cardstock and kind of put them in a box so that we can start spray painting them. I picked up a couple colors of pink spray paint at Lowe's yesterday because I wanted to do like a pink ombre. So what I'm going to do is start with this gloss mambo pink, I guess it's called, then candy pink, and then more of a white. This is like called sand dollar. I didn't really want that bright of a pink, but finding different shades of pink is a little bit challenging, I was noticing, so we're going to make it work. So I'm going to start with like the most bold color, the Mambo pink here at the very top, and I'm just going to simply spray paint the first couple of rows with a little overspray on the 3rd row there. And then I'm going to switch to the candy pink, which is way lighter. And the great thing about using spray paint to ombre is that you naturally get that fade between one to the other from the little bit of overspray. And I kind of did like, 2.5 of the soft pink too. And then we're going to finish it up with like the shade of white. This isn't exactly white, but it's pretty close. Kind of a soft white. And I sprayed the bottom 2 rows with the white. Now I do want that ombre effect, a little bit more pink than white. So I did spray again a couple times like the pink there to make sure everything kind of looks good. That slow, gentle transition in color. And then I just speeded up the drying process with my heat gun. It actually went pretty fast. Now we can attach these to the sign. I love this idea. You could do this, on a smaller scale or a larger scale. Just so pretty. And you could do it with, artificial flowers as well. But I really like the look of the little sola roses. I think they're super sweet. So let's go ahead and start attaching these. I'm going to be doing the same thing as I did on the cardstock, hot gluing them one at a time. And you do have to be kind of careful pulling them off. You don't want to break the flowers. And so I'm going to actually start in the middle. It doesn't really matter as long as I'm using like the right row of color. That way I can get my center row centered properly. So I just sit that, and again, as you can see, it does take a while for the hot glue to set up. So it's almost better to kind of put some things, and I'll show you what I ended up using to kind of, stand the flowers up while the hot glue is drying. And then I'm going to start here on the bottom with one of the white roses. And I wanted to kind of do the first middle row first, so I would kind of know my spacing. And as you can see, what I'm using to stand them up are just the little pink finger protectors from Dollar Tree. That worked perfect. They were just the right size and small enough that you can kind of put them wherever needed. So as you can see, I'm going from top and then I'm also working up from the bottom. And then I have two more. I want them to be kind of spaced evenly without like a huge gap. And I think that's going to work fine. And so I just glue those in place as well. Trying to make sure that I have the ombre effect. And then I'm just going to finish it off by gluing all the rest of them. I'm kind of working from the center out. I'm going to go ahead and do all of the hot pink up here. I didn't really want to do that bold of a pink, but really I only had one row here that was that bold because I had a lot more of, the mixture between the colors. Like this is kind of turned out like a medium pink, which is great. And those little finger protectors worked perfect for this because I could hot glue them, stand them up with that while that glued, and it actually turned out really sturdy in the end. So I'm going to continue my way down, doing all the colors in the ombre, and I'm just going to leave like that frame, that color. And as you can see, that wood background looks great back there. And if you can see like the back of my paper, how much overspray there was just by a couple passes with that, definitely was the right way to do it. Now, I found the best way to pull these off the cardstock was actually just to rip the paper just a little bit, and then you could just cut it off, and it almost gave you more of a flat bottom for these that you could glue down to the sign, and it made them actually a little bit easier to attach. So we're just going to finish up the final few rows here. And you can see that gentle ombre effect with the pink. I love that. I think that's so fun. And I think this is going to be a great little wall hanging for spring. Since it's kind of a firm sign, you could also kind of lean this against something, make it more of a shelf sitter. Haven't decided which way I'm going to use it. I kind of like it like leaning up against something. I think it looks really pretty for spring. And that's all there is to it. So we have the little wood sola. I'm going to go ahead and get all of any of the glue strings. It's really easy just to melt those off with your heat gun. Clean it up and make sure it looks its best. And I love how this turned out. There was definitely a little bit of prep by having to glue it twice, but I'm so glad I did because in the end I got this beautiful wood flower wall hanging. Isn't this so pretty? And the ombre effect, I love that, the different pinks. And the only way I think you probably do that is with spray paint. I don't normally spray paint a lot of things, but I thought to get inside the flowers like that and to get a really cool ombre effect, I picked up some of this leaf wallpaper. I've never used this before at Dollar Tree. And then I also got some of these pink flower floral tiles. I actually got these at Target Dollar Spot. They were $5 for both of them. Honestly, when I bought them, I thought they were $3 for both of them because that is a little bit pricey, but they are pretty. I think the price on these have definitely went up because I know I've bought those for like $3 before, like a similar one. And then I picked up two pieces of craft wood from the Dollar Tree. I love this size because it works great to make like a larger sign. You can put them together. It's nice and thick. It's not bowed or anything like that. The only thing is it's a little rough sometimes, so I'm just going to give it a quick sand on some of the uneven edges. And then I'm just going to simply glue those together to make a square sign that we can kind of put all these pieces together. What I wanted to do was have like the leaf background with like a pink floral monogram. I thought that'd be kind of fun way to use those little floral tiles. So I just do a bead of hot glue on one of the little pieces of craft wood and put the two pieces together like that, nice and sturdy. And then we can decorate this. I thought this would be the perfect background because it's giving me like that soft green leaf background. And it is the perfect size here. All I have to do is kind of lay my sign here on the back of it, use an ink pen, and I can kind of just draw exactly where I need to cut. Easy peasy, and cover the back of it. No painting or anything like that involved. And it gave me a really nice, leaf background, which I was kind of trying to do a lot of leaf projects and pink flower projects. So I thought the pink flowers would look really cute on there. So we're just going to peel and stick this wallpaper to the side, kind of lining it up, and it fit on there just perfectly. I do use my little finger sander here to get any tiny little slivers that might be, but I got it on there actually pretty good. I'm also going to use my sandpaper to rough it up. I do want it to look a little older and distressed and a little less perfect. Now, I'm going to attach a hanger to this, but I'm not sure. I think I actually might use this as a leaning sign, but I always save these little hangers off the Dollar Tree signs that I use all the time in case I need them when I don't use them on the DIY I'm making. So I just saved one, and I'm just going to screw that hanger to the back of it if I choose to hang it. And as you can see, the pink floral tile is just about the same size. So I'm definitely going to have to cut that down a little bit. It's got like this great cage on the back. So I thought I would take advantage of that. Each row has flowers attached to it. So I'm kind of trying to map out like the center and then do the top. I wanted to do the monogram for our last name, which is a T. So that's going to be pretty easy. Just trying to make sure exactly how this was set up. And I try to do 3 rows of each. Then I'm just going to carefully snip the cage from the back, trying to make sure that I don't cut any of the flowers to cut my shape down. Now, my letter ended up being a little bit chunkier than I wanted, so I do cut it down a little bit more, but this is kind of initially where I started. I was trying to think of things I could do with this. I've used these kind of as backgrounds before, but I've never really kind of customized them like this, and I thought this would be fun. There is like an extra row there at the bottom that you saw that I cut off. That's not really attached to anything, so I just cut that off to kind of get it out of the way. And then we're going to cut the other side of the T down that I had just kind of marked out with a Sharpie. And I'm going to go ahead and cut my extra row of plastic off. That's not really attached to anything. They have that on all the sides, just to kind of make sure you can't see that from the front. That's when I was like, it's a little chunkier than I want. So let's make it actually like a 2-row instead of a 3-row letter. So I just cut 1 row off, and then I'm going to cut 1 row off the top as well. And I also need to kind of cut 1 row off to even it out here, so everything lines up. Now, T is a pretty easy letter. I'm thinking like L. There's some letters that are definitely going to be easier than others to cut out with these floral tiles. But you can always do flowers and kind of do your own letter too. But I thought this would be a quick, easy way to do it since they're all attached together, right? So I want to display it that with like the leaves on the background like that. I thought that the green was a little bit brighter than I wanted though. And so I thought I would just go ahead and distress it a little bit more to scratch it up. You could also, distress with paint if you wanted. This is a quick, easy way to kind of scratch it up, kind of bring more of the white from the back through some of the leaves. And just make sure I clean up any of the dust from the paper, and just wanted a little bit of a softer background there for my little floral monogram. And I liked that effect so much that I wanted to rough it up a little bit more. I had to do it definitely now before I attach my letter. It'll be too late. And again, you could kind of distress it with white if you wanted yours to be a little bit. I just wanted it not to compete with my flower letter as much. I wanted my floral monogram to be able to stand out a little bit. So I'm just going to add hot glue to the back of the cage on the floral tile, kind of everywhere I could, and line that up and just stick that to my sign. Really fun idea for a little spring sign using those floral tiles from the dollar spot. And I think that turned out really cute. If you wanted to do your own, you could probably do like some poster board and kind of sketch out, your letter and use like some small pink flowers from the Dollar Tree. They do have a flower that's very similar to this, and just glue it on and make your own if you wanted to do that. That would be pretty easy to do as well. But here it is, my little spring flower tea. Okay, the next DIY, I picked up some soft pink roses from the Dollar Tree, some more lamb's ear, and a little vase from the Dollar Tree as well. I thought we could make it a little bit better than just the clear glass vase though, so I'm actually going to show you how easy it is to frost glass. I'm going to go ahead and clean it up, and we're going to be using that Rust-Oleum frosted glass spray paint. I think I actually picked this up at Amazon, but I know I've seen it at Walmart before. I'll try to see if I have this linked in my shop. I'm pretty sure I got this on Amazon. And it just goes on like spray paint. It's so easy to do. So I just went ahead and put my glass in my box again to kind of prevent overspray. I'm going to try to do this without getting anything on my camera. I hope. So I just went over the bottom, went over all of it with one coat, and then went in with my heat gun to dry it. As you can see, as it dries, it gets that beautiful like frosted finish, which is just going to make it look so much more high end. You're not going to be able to see the stems in there from the Dollar Tree, which kind of look a little bit cheaper on Dollar Tree florals. And I had pretty good coverage. There was one side that wasn't near as frosted as the other. So I am going to touch up that side with another coat just to make sure that I had even coverage. But again, really easy to do. And one coat's really all you need. I probably didn't get the back of it as good as I needed. So I just kind of spray painted another little layer of that. And that looks really good. I'm going to just kind of sand off whatever was dripped on the top so it'll give it a nice clean look. But I love the frosted look. What do you guys think about that? Now, these are the florals we're going to use again. I picked up 2 bunches of the pink roses. I don't like the greenery on them, though. I think that looks really cheap. So what I'm doing is just pulling my roses off and pulling off the tags and all of the leaves on here, just leaving the pink roses. I'm going to try to replace all the greenery with actually some of the Dollar Tree lamb's ears so I can still have like that soft pink and light green, like fuzzy leaf thing that we've been doing today. Kind of the vibe for these DIYs. And I think it turned out really pretty. As you can see, that lamb's ear just looks so much better than these green leaves on the roses for sure. So I'm going to need both of this for sure because I want it to be a nice, tall, like full floral arrangement. So I'm going to cut one of them off like 2, there's little notches on there, so 2 notches to kind of make a shorter bundle. And then the other one, I'm only going to cut one off. This is going to be kind of my longer part that can be sticking up a little bit higher. And I just cut my wires down with some of those floral scissors from the Dollar Tree, where I can kind of put them all together like that. It's going to give me a really nice spring bouquet. And then for the lamb's ear, I picked up these kind of longer ones that have like 2 branches on them. And I'm just going to cut the 2 branches off. They're going to be like, one's going to be a little bit longer than the other, but again, perfect lengths for what I'm using for this DIY. And since I frosted the glass, you're not really going to be able to see the stems inside. And I don't really have to put anything in there because it's all going to kind of just sit nicely down there. So I'm just kind of grouping them all together. I did the shorter flowers first with all of the new greenery, and then I can go in there with my taller flowers right from the top and put those down inside. And then it's just a matter of kind of arranging them, making sure that the leaves and the flowers look symmetrical, look their very best. And I'm so glad I decided to replace the greenery in these because these soft colors are definitely my vibe for the spring for sure. I thought about adding something to the vase, but I kind of like the simplicity of it. And I think this is so pretty for spring. And again, it is pink roses, so it'd be perfect for Valentine's Day too. So you could put it up early as well. This is how mine turned out. And I really love that frosted technique. It just really takes that cheap $1.25 vase and makes it look way more high end. What do you guys think? I think it turned out really beautiful. The next DIY is going to be a spring tier tray. I'm going to use lots of spring flowers and garden elements. The first thing I want to do is put a bed of clover on the top of my 2-tier tray. This is what I'm using. I actually got this at the Target dollar spot. These are great for crafting. It is a square. I need it to be a rectangle, so I'm going to cut one square off, and I actually need it to be a little bit longer, so I'm going to move that over here on the side, trimming that down where it will fit. I want the entire top tier of my rectangular tier tray to be covered in greenery, and I want to do like a trellis up the back. So I think this is going to be the perfect start. I do need to be able to put it on the tier tray. It has a pole in the middle, so I'm going to cut out a little area here right in the center where the pole will be. And then I'm also going to have to cut an opening so I'll be able to slide this on the tier tray. I do try to cut off some of the excess plastic there on the back and then just cut a little opening, kind of a little bit like a tablecloth, right? And I'm gonna just put that around the pole and it fills up that entire tier with greenery, which I love. It's a great little shortcut. Using those from the dollar spot at Target, I always try to pick those up. They seem to have them every year at my stores. And then I want to do a trellis of flowers up the back. I'm using these little climbing trellises from Dollar Tree. They are made out of plastic. I'm going to use just one of these. And I'm going to use Dollar Tree greenery, have like greenery growing up it with some flowers as well. I don't really need the stand that goes down into the ground, so I went ahead and trimmed that off with some heavy-duty scissors. And I'm going to start with some greenery. These are some artificial ferns I got at the Dollar Tree. I think these are really nice for $1.25. As you can see, they are big and full. And I thought we could just kind of put these through the trellis. I want them to be a little bit at a diagonal like that. I think that will look good. And I'm just going to use some twine to attach it to that plastic trellis. You could also use zip ties for this as well. I'm just going to knot it there on the top. I want it to be symmetrical, so I'm going to do the same thing here on the other side. Make it look like that greenery is growing over the sides. I want this to be really full. I'm going to do another one right here in the center. And one thing I really love about these is how large they are. They're pretty big. And I wanted to build up the back of this tier tray to really kind of make a statement and a larger decor piece. I'm going to use the other ones here towards the bottom to fill it up with a little bit of that fern all over, just using twine wherever I need to attach it to make sure they don't slide around and they stay exactly where I want them to be. These are also some green picks that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. A little bit different, kind of a fern vibe. I thought these would be really pretty on here as well. You could also use some of the greenery garland they have from the Dollar Tree. That would be really cute. I want mine to be really full with greenery here, and so I scatter these all over. I think that is a nice texture, and I think those are really pretty. I'm just going to use hot glue to attach these just because it's a little bit easier, and I already have all of this greenery tied down. So I'm just basically gluing it to the greenery that I already have attached. And I really like how I have it all set up here. I want to use some metal flowers from the Dollar Tree to decorate this. You could also use some of their faux flowers on there as well. That would be really pretty. And I do want a little bit of the trellis to show. These are the metal flowers that I'm going to use. They have several varieties of these I have found at Dollar Tree. These are some of the larger ones, I would say. And I have one that is like a mauve pink and one that is more of a white. And they have little hangers on the back of them, which makes them a little bit easier to attach things. And I think they're so pretty. I thought I could stagger them a little bit like this. And I thought I would take advantage of the hanger on there. There is like a little hook here on the top of my trellis and just put it right on there. It's going to be easier than just hot gluing the metal on. And then I'm going to do the same thing here with the white flower. I don't want them to be necessarily side by side, but I can attach them here and have them a little bit offset by how I display them. To make sure it stays like that, I do use a little hot glue on the white flower to make sure it stays where I want it, almost going off to the side, but still hooked onto the trellis like that, where the pink flower will be a little bit lower. And I think that looks so pretty. We can attach that with the greenery that we've already attached to it. I just use a little bit of twine and the trellis, and I'm going to tie it to that center pole in my tier tray. And it's probably one of the tallest tier trays I've ever made by using a trellis like this, but I love it. I think it's so cool. I just put it on there, and I'm going to tie this right around the pole, just like this, so it will stand up on its own. And I'm just going to double knot that, tie it into a little bow so it is a little bit prettier, but I think that is a really fun touch. Now, the next find I found from Dollar Tree, it is a little light blue bird, perfect for spring. It's ceramic. I don't have to do anything to it. And also I found a little yellow flower dish there that is ceramic that I love the colors of these. I think these are going to go great with what we already have on here. So I'm just going to stand these in that greenery from the Target dollar spot, putting the bird down into the greenery and also the little flower here on the other side. As you can see, I have so much going on that top tier. I really only need a couple of things to fill this one up. And this is definitely one of my favorite spring tier trays I've ever done on my channel. It's just so much fun. For the bottom, I'm going to use some vase filler that I got on clearance at Target. This is just vase filler. As you can see, it's all kinds of spring flowers, and they are so pretty. Whenever I can find a good deal on these things from Target, I usually try to buy them if I really love them. There's a little bit of greenery in there as well that we can use for the tier tray, and look at these flowers. They are so cute. I have saved these actually from year to year and reused them for spring. They're perfect. The yellow ones, and here are the pink ones. I'm going to scatter these all over the bottom tier to use for filler, and it's really going to provide a really fun spring floral touch. The greenery is not great in that, but I'm going to go ahead and use it anyway, putting one in each one of the four corners to the bottom tier. I found this All Things Grow with Love yardstake at the Dollar Tree, and I thought this would be perfect for a little sign for the tier tray. It did have a yardstake and a hanger, so I removed both of them. The yardstake did not want to come off. It took a little bit more persistence, and I'm going to use just one of their wood craft cubes here to make a stand to stand this up. I want this to be a little standing sign on that bottom tier, and it goes perfect with the flower theme and the spring garden feel. I just have to remove everything from the back so it will attach properly here. And just want to put it here on the very bottom, and I just use some hot glue to attach it. A really easy way to make a little sign from using items from the Dollar Tree. Also, window decals can be really great for a small spring sign, but sometimes they have these little spring and garden signs like this. Even sometimes hanging like 2 or 3 in a set where you can take them apart and use them for something like this. Isn't that so cute? Really easy, nice and tall. It's going to provide great height here for the back of my tier tray. It almost didn't fit, but I was able to make it work. It was a tight squeeze. Now, I also found this green leaf ceramic dish at Dollar Tree, and I thought this was so pretty as well. This would look great for spring. So we're going to add that to the tier tray as well. I'm going to sit this one back here. I have a little plate holder that would be perfect for this that one of my friends 3D printed for me, and it'll help stand that up so you can see it a little bit better. I'm going to put it right back here on the bottom tier. Just have to get it in there perfectly. This is what I'm talking about, like with spring signs. Like here is a 4-pack of spring signs where you can take these apart and have perfect little signs for a tier tray. I'm going to use the pink flower. It has a glitter on it, but I think we can make this work. It is just the right size down there, and it's going to go with the spring flower theme. For this one, I'm using one of these wood blocks. This is a giant Jenga block from Five Below. I always like to pick these up every spring at Five Below. They're great for crafting. And I just hot glue that to the back, so now it will stand up on its own just like that. Easy DIY. I'm going to put this one right over here on the side, and I'm loving all of the colors so far and the theme of this spring tier tray. For the next DIY, I picked up one of the galvanized metal flowers from the Dollar Tree. These are on sale for 50 cents at my stores. And I found these great stickers. They are bottle stickers, but they were flowers, and I thought they were really pretty. They're a little bit like the glass stickers they have. And you could also use some of their wall stickers as well. I liked these because they were a little bit small and they really looked like wildflowers. And I never know how to decorate the galvanized metal pieces from the Dollar Tree, so this is a fun option. I'm just going to scatter these all over, almost giving like a wallpaper effect to this flower. Look how pretty these are. Super easy way to make a DIY. I think I have room for these right over here. I want to get as many flowers on here as I can. Some of them are individual, which makes it great for filling up any areas that doesn't have anything yet. And this was such an easy spring DIY and so festive for this theme on the tier tray. And it has a built-in stand, so I'm going to put that one right here in front because I think it's really beautiful right in front of the pole. Now, this is a little bird's nest that I've had this for years. I have no idea. I think I might have got this at TJ Maxx, like in a 3-pack, but I love to use these for spring bird or spring or even Easter projects. So I had it, so I went ahead and added that to the tier tray. And now some of that great flower vase filler from Target. I'm going to spread out some of the yellow flowers, and this is so colorful and fun for spring. Definitely one of my favorites. I'm going to use some of the pink flowers, the white flowers here too, and just enough to fill it up. This was such a fun theme to do. I always love doing a spring tier tray. This is definitely one of my favorites that I've done on my channel, so I wanted to include it in today's video. Let me show you how this turned out. I think it's so pretty. I love the little garden trellis there in the back. The metal flowers, all the pastel colors. I really think everything works really well together. The little grow with love sign there peeking out from the back goes perfect with this theme. And who knew you could put a garden trellis on a tier tray? The little mat of greenery there on the bottom provides a great bed for that flower. The little bluebird, super cute. And just a really fun theme that you can leave up all spring long, which is always great. So let me give you a little look around here of what we did on the bottom tier as well. We have our grow with love sign, our little bird's nest, some of the pretty vase filler flowers. The textures on those are so pretty. Guessing you could make those. They do seem like they would be a lot of work. I love how the little metal flower piece turned out. It's so colorful and pretty. And again, using like the little spring hanging signs like that from the Dollar Tree, you can make lots of little signs like this that are just the perfect size. And we can't forget the little green leaf dish here in the back and another one of those yellow vase filler flowers. Absolutely love it. It just puts me in the mood for spring, and I hope you enjoyed these DIYs today. Please let me know which spring DIY was your favorite down in the comments below. I always love reading all of your comments. And if you haven't checked out my second channel, Crafty Little Beach, that is a great channel for watching individual DIYs on your phone. Enjoy the final reveal.
I don't know where she came from. Kinda turned me upside down. I just don't know what to do. I wanna spend the night at hers and bring her one of my t-shirts so it smells like her perfume. Now I really get what the love songs are talking about, and I just wanna tell her how I feel, scream it out loud. Have you ever been in love? Have you ever lost your head? Have you felt like you were out of breath when you saw her in that dress? When your heart is beating fast and you're sweating and you can't stop looking at her smile, then you've been in love. That's how you know you've been in love. There's something about the way she laughs and the way she always dances when she thinks nobody sees. And when she's gone, I miss her so. I tell her, baby, please don't go. I think you should stay with me. And I really get what the love songs are talking about. Oh, and I just wanna tell her how I feel, scream it out loud. Have you ever been in love? Have you ever lost your head? Have you felt like you were out of breath when you saw her in that dress? When your heart is beating fast and you're sweating and you can't stop looking at her smile, then you've been in love. That's how you know you've been in love. Turn me upside down. I just don't know what to do. I wanna spend the night with her, bring her one of my t-shirts so it smells like her perfume. Have you ever been in love? Have you ever lost your head? Have you felt like you were out of breath when you saw her in that dress? When your heart is beating fast and you're sweating and you can't stop looking at her smile, then you've been in love. That's how you know you've been in love.
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's video. I also want to thank all of my YouTube members for supporting my channel. Thank you to Karen O'Haron, Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Susan Edmonds, Tracy Knight, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, I Am Mojo Jojo, Live Another Day, Maren Christensen, Adrian Brult, Debbie Middleton, Donna Tanner, Kim Rogers, and Maria Cruz Pagan. I really appreciate you guys so much. If you would like to become a Crafty Beach Bum member, all you have to do is hit the join button next to today's video. You're going to get early ad-free access to my content here on YouTube, a badge next to your name when you comment down below, and a shout out in every video, and you're free to cancel at any time. And I would love to see your DIYs. If you make anything you see on my channel or somebody else's DIYs or one of your own originals, be sure to share it with us in our private Facebook group I have linked in the description of today's video. And would you like more spring crafting inspiration? Be sure to check out one of these YouTube videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting!